Okay. Okay, so last week we talked about not being distracted by the blessing. And that was so powerful last week. I didn't realize till this week. Is because Eve, or before she was Eve, she was woman. And woman was Adam's blessing. And I think because she's his blessing, that's gonna play a big part or a big role in this text. So when I was reading the story, I pictured Eve. Stay with me. I pictured Eve like this. I put myself in the story so I could understand the heart of God, and I could understand what's going on, because again, we was not there. I was not there, so I don't know. So I put myself in the shoes, and I can relate so much to Eve. Now, everything aside, there was never, remember, we're coming against minds that were already set on believing something that somebody told them. There was no apple. Just because you hear fruit doesn't mean apple. There was no apple that was bitten into. So we hear that, Eve gave Adam the apple, but where does it say it? And I looked in every version, if you will, and it never said anything about an apple. When God refers to us sometimes, and most times, every time he refers to us, he said that you will know a tree by its fruits. Every time he refers to us, it's like we're trees. He said that he's the branches and he's the vine and we're the branches. Like apart from him, severed from him, we can do nothing. So he refers as trees, and it always had me thinking, I was talking to Nene last week, and it had me thinking when the blind man and Jesus spat on his eyes, and the blind man seen trees first, and then he did it again and he seen humans for what they were. So I was just thinking about that, and maybe God will take me deeper with that. But that's interesting that in the beginning God is saying trees and fruits, like he's using all these terms as if, because says who? Like, what if God said we were trees? What if God said we were fruit? I mean, like, I don't know. It's just things that I've been thinking, right? So digging deeper into it, I can relate to Eve because I've been in her shoes. Now, some of the world may think that the first sin was eating, but the first sin was adultery. I know people, I know online, I know. The first sin was adultery. It was not her eating something. Now we'll dig into that. But this is how I see Eve. I see Eve in the garden. Remember, Eve is new. Like this is her new season. This is her foreign land. Eve was created from a rib. She didn't start as a baby. She didn't start like maturing at a level. Like she started as maybe an adult, maybe a teenager. I don't know the time frame, but she didn't start as an adolescent. She started as something more mature than if she was at a child. So I picture Eve like vulnerable, just all in this text. I picture her vulnerable. I picture her not like she heard what God said, but it's just like maybe she ain't standing on what God said. Like I know you, God, and I know what you spoke over me and to me and told me what to do and what not to do. Like I have something to go off of, but it's like, if somebody was to come and be all up in my ear, then I will believe them and maybe not you because of whatever reasons maybe Eve had. So this is just how I'm picturing her. Stay with me. This is just how I picture her. So like she's vulnerable. She's very naive. And she's like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to be with this man that that I was taken from, I guess we're together, if you will. Right? Like, I don't know if God gave him a ceremony. I don't know if that's just here on our world. You get a ceremony, or God said, no, you and you are supposed to be together and y'all together. I don't know. So I just picture Eve, she like minding her own business, and like the serpent comes up to her. Now, because it said the serpent for me and my understanding was a man. It said that he spoke to her. Now, if you go back into chapter 2, Adam named the animals. If we go into our text, it said the serpent was the shrewdest of all the wild animals the Lord God had made. If we go to chapter 2, it said it said all the wild animals. He gave names to all the livestock, all the birds of the sky. This is verse 20, chapter 2. He gave names to all the livestock, all of the birds of the sky, and all of the wild animals. But still there was no helper just right for him. And I just want to throw that in there for you, just so you can kind of refer back to something. Now, we don't know what those wild animals were. Just because on here on earth, like we call a lion maybe a wild animal, we don't know if in the garden God meant for lion in there to be that wild animal. Because when they call us animals, when you are doing something crazy and you go to jail for it, or you on death row for it, or like you're just a wild animal, like you're just wild. You know, so in my understanding, I believe that serpent was man at this time before he had to grovel or whatever in the dust of the dirt, or we'll get down to that. So it says that one day he asked the woman, did God really say you must not eat from the fruit of any trees in the garden? Now, Eve, I believe because she was naive and she was vulnerable, and maybe she just didn't know where she fit in. Like, she knew she was with Adam, but I don't know. Maybe she's like, I know I'm with you, but something over here also looks good. Now, when you start entertaining things that it may look good, it may look like blessings, it may look like God, this is you. Like when you start entertaining the temporary, then your situation, something that was meant to be permanent, it gets all messed up. It gets all out of order. It gets all out of whack. She was meant to be in the garden. That was her permanent situation. That was her permanent assignment. That was her permanent residence. But when she started to entertain something that was temporary, she messed up her life. Now, I'm only speaking from a place of a knowing. Last week we talked about Adam having a knowing. God had to allow Adam to have this knowing before the test came. So when I'm relating to Eve, I feel like because she was vulnerable, she entertained something that was not from God, but because, let's say, because Satan can come in any form that he wants to. He can come to you in the form of music. He can come to you in the form of money. He can come to you in the form of a man. He can come to you in the form of whatever it is that your heart desires. Now, I just feel like Eve was missing something. Like, I feel like Eve had like a hole in her heart that could only be filled by God, but she didn't know that. She didn't realize that. And I'm only speaking from experience. For me, I had a hole in my heart that I didn't know only God can fill. I thought only men were able to fill that void for me. It was never things. It was never money. It was men for me. They were the only things that were able to fill that void. So that's why I can relate to her so much in her story. And maybe it's different for some of you. You know, so Eve, I see her vulnerable again. and she's entertaining something in her vulnerability. She's entertaining something in her naiveness, if that's a word, because she's not yet stable with God, if you will, in her relationship with God. She's still a little shaky, like she's still not able to stand. Like when you've spent so much time with God, you know his voice, so you're able to stand on certain things. Like you know without a shadow of a doubt that he's gonna pay this rent because he's done it before. Like you know without a shadow of a doubt he's gonna heal your body because he's done it before. Like some things you know without a shadow of a doubt, and I feel like Eve just wasn't sure. She was in the beginning stages of her relationship with God, which means that she couldn't stand the way she may have wanted to stand. So she was a little shaky. She was able, it said that, let me go back to 3. It said that Eve, it said that she was convinced. So because she was unstable, she was able to be convinced by something that looked good for her. Like she was convinced by something that was not for her, by something that she was entertaining that was just meant to test her. Now Eve got her own test, just like all of us. It was never like Adam and Eve was never going to have a test like we all do. Like they had tests just as much as we do now. This was Eve's test. She spoke to the serpent and said no when she was entertaining him. She said, no, I can eat from the trees. I just can't eat from, like, it's like you're entertaining it. Just cut it off at the root. Like, you're right. I'm not supposed to be doing that. Nope, I can't eat. Bye. Like, have a nice day. But she's too busy trying to entertain this something because there's a lack in her heart. There's a void that she needs filled in her heart. That's why she's entertaining something, not knowing what she's about to step into. Right? So she's entertaining the serpent. She said, no, we are allowed to eat from the fruit. It's just the fruit in the middle of the garden, the tree in the middle of the garden. Like we must not eat it or taste it or touch it or we will die. So the back and forth that she's having, the conversations, the time, the back and forth that Eve is having with the serpent is allowing her mind to be changed. So the more time you spend entertaining temporary things, the more time your mind will change. Once your mind changes, your heart has been made up. So Eve had a chance for her mind to be changed. Whatever that was that looked good to her, she started questioning who God is. Like, okay, God, I don't know. It's somebody else over here that got my ear. My husband ain't even got it like this. Like, I'm not entertaining my husband. I'm entertaining somebody else that's making me feel like it's something better on the other side. And in fact, it's nothing better on the other side, but God will cause you to be in situations to where you will be tested so he can know your heart. Once again, we talked about that last week. He's only going to put you in a situation so he can test your heart, so he can see exactly where it is. Now, God already told Eve. He said that we can only eat from, so you know what he said, you just didn't obey what he said. So that's like some of us. We know what God says, but it's like, it's what we want, because what we want, we got to have what we want now. We don't want to wait for God to give us the something that he's already had stored for us. Just like last week, the counterfeit blessings. We don't want to wait for the real blessings to where we start having an overflow of blessings, because the blessings are only meant to bless somebody else. So we don't want to wait for the overflow of the blessings. We just want what we want now. And if we keep going that way of wanting what we want now instead of putting what we want now on hold for God's will and for his way, then we start to mess our life up. Eve started to begin to mess her life up. As you see it playing out in the word chapter 3, she starts to slowly begin to mess her life up. She starts to slowly begin to not stand on what God is saying and allow something else to take her attention away. She's allowing the serpent. She's allowing the serpent in her life. Because let me go back to definition, if you will. I wrote down definition of the serpent. It said the serpent was shrewd. When I look up shrewd, it says it means astute or astute. It was meaning that he knows how to assess people and turn it into his advantage. So the serpent knows how to assess you. He knows exactly what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you're lacking, what it is that you're missing, what it is that you want to have a hold on to, what it is that you want control over, what it is that you want to just govern over. The serpent in your life knows it. If it's money, the money knows it can get you. If it's men, the men knows it can get you. It's whatever serpent in your life. It's meant to assess you and turn it into its advantage. That's what the serpent did here to Eve. It assessed her. Having conversations, it's learning you. The serpent knows us just as much as God knows us. So it learns you. It learns your move. It watches you. It seeks you out. It's going to keep allowing the same test over and over and over again. If your serpent is men, then that next man gonna come. Then here come another man. It's just like, no, God, I passed the season. Y'all remember what happened in Vegas? I was so weak. Even though I passed the test, I was weak because that same serpent will come in and out of your life because it's trying to assess you to use it for its advantage. Dang, that's good, God. To use it for your advantage, for its advantage. So while Eve is having conversation with the serpent, it's learning her. He's learning her. So it says, the serpent says, you won't die. God knows that your eyes will be open. You'll eat it and be like God, knowing both good and evil. The woman was convinced. So not only did Eve's mind change, her heart changed. Her heart changed from this knowing about God to this knowing about a man. Like, I think that the man, let's get into it. I don't want to add nothing to it. She saw that the tree was beautiful. When Satan is being described, don't quote me, but I think it's maybe in Isaiah or Ezekiel, excuse me, it's in Ezekiel. When he's being described as something that's very beautiful. Satan was a very beautiful angel. Now, don't quote me on Ezekiel or Isaiah. It's one of them. Study for yourself to show thyself approved. Study. Now, it describes Satan as being very beautiful. It said that she saw that the tree was beautiful and its fruit looked delicious. When God speaks to us in his word, he said that you will know a tree by its fruits. Meaning, a good tree can't produce bad fruit, like it says in his word, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. Which means whatever is in your heart, we already know it pours out from your mouth and all of those good things that it tells us in the word. So in our heart, it pours out our fruit. So how we treat people, how we love people, how we give people the benefit of the doubt, like that's a part of our fruit. The fruits of the spirit, love, joy, peace, like those are our fruits. So it shows when you are in contact with somebody. It shows when you have conversations with somebody. Your fruits show. So she saw that the tree was beautiful and its fruit looked delicious, and she wanted the wisdom it would give her. Now we know heaven or earth, garden or Eden, that fruit does not give you wisdom. Apples, grapes, oranges, Bananas, it doesn't give you wisdom. That's what they tell you when you're growing up. Eat your peas, you'll be stronger. Drink your milk, you'll be wiser. Whatever it is. But we know, that's why you don't say like she ate the apple or she ate the grapes. Like it doesn't say that, it says fruit. God refers to us, we got to keep that in mind, as our fruits of the Spirit. He refers to that so many times in scripture. Now, when they describe Satan as well, it talks about the wisdom Satan had. Satan had so much wisdom. He knew good and he knew evil. That's why he was able to play the role. He was able to deceive you. When she says, oh, the serpent deceived me, I'll get into that because I'm jumping ahead. Now, it says, and she wanted the wisdom it will give her. Satan is described as beautiful and he's described as having wisdom. She wanted all of what would, maybe Adam wasn't that beautiful. It don't describe Adam's appearance at all. Maybe he wasn't that beautiful. Maybe when Satan came, she saw something that she didn't have. She saw something that will give her what she was lacking, what she thought she would get from him because of what she was lacking in her heart. She took some of the fruit and she gave some to her husband who was with her and he ate it too. This part was just a little like when I'm studying, I'm going to be real with you. When I'm studying, God tells me to use my common sense. When I'm studying and it says that she saw that the tree was beautiful and its fruit looked delicious and she wanted the wisdom it would give her, she wanted the serpent. She wanted this man because her man wasn't delivering what he should have been delivering. This is how I'm studying. I'm only going from me, from what I went through. My man wasn't delivering the way I needed him to. So I crept out, and I'm not going to blame everything on my husband because at the same time I knew what I was doing. Just like Eve, you know what you were doing, you just didn't want to. You wanted what you wanted at the time you wanted it. Now, if you were doing what you were supposed to do, I wouldn't have to be creeping over here. But I get it. We all adults here. We didn't grow up as children. We didn't have time to mature, if you will. But for Eve, it said she wanted the wisdom it would give her. So she took some fruit and she ate it. I believe that she slept with the serpent here. Be with me. I get it. It's different. It's foreign. It's like, no way. But God gave me this in my fasting because he knew I would be able to relate. As much as I didn't want to say this, just as much as I didn't want to tell you about Adam not being the first man, it's the same thing. Like Eve slept with the serpent, and we'll get into that because it's also in scripture. She slept with the serpent because of what she thought it can give her. Then she gave some to her husband. Now, when I'm studying, I'm like, no, Adam, you didn't sleep with the serpent too. Did you? Like, this is, I don't have no limits. I let God allow him to take me anywhere. So it's like, oh, God, did Adam sleep with him too? Like, because she gave it to her husband. I don't know. None of that was ever confirmed for me. All I know for sure is that Eve slept with the serpent, right? So let's move on from that. But you just got to get into, when you're studying, ask questions. Like some stuff that don't even make sense, God will confirm it for you. And that's really studying. Like when you want to know the answer to something, that's when you start to dig into studying. Then you're looking up the definition, but that's neither here or there. So then it says, then she gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it too. At that moment, their eyes were open, and they suddenly felt shame at their nakedness. So they sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves. Now, because they're in covenant, man and woman, Adam and Eve, they were in covenant, which means whatever you do affects this marriage. So that's how he also, I don't know about him sleeping with whatever. That's just how my mind goes. It's always negative. My mind is always negative. So I don't know, but for this scripture, how was my understanding was whatever you do outside of this marriage, whatever you do outside of this covenant, you bring it back to me. If I go and mess up and go mess with somebody else, I'm bringing that mess up to my husband because we're in covenant. We're one. So when I mess up, he technically messes up. When I'm however I am, it falls back on each other because we're one. So when she said, oh, she gave some to her husband who was with her and he ate it too, it's like maybe you then slept with Adam. I don't know. So anyway, they sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves, which means you did something wrong, but you were too shameful to go to God to tell him what you did. Now this may be a little off subject, but today, this just happened today, and I called Lyric in here to get some more of her mind. So Lyric ran outside. She wears sports bras and stuff now. So she had her sports bra on and she had her shorts, and I told them to go take Cross for a walk. So she ran out, not knowing I guess, whatever her mind was thinking. She ran out and she ran back inside. Because of what we taught her, she knew not to ever walk out like that. In the comfort of your own home, you can just be. But don't you ever walk out with a sports bra and some shorts and all your body is just showing. Never. So she comes back in and she goes to the bathroom or goes somewhere maybe to find a shirt or something. But I say, Lyric. And I call her and she's crying. I'm like, what's wrong? Because I went outside with my sports bra on and I just didn't know. She's just crying and boo-hooing. And I asked her when she came back inside, I said, so God is actually giving me a word on what you just did. So what was your first mind to do when you knew that you went outside with a sports bra and you came running back in the house? She said, my first mind was to go put the shirt back on and then I was going to tell you. And I'm just like, so that's maybe how Eve and Adam was thinking. Let me try to cover this up before you start to ask questions, before I can come to you and tell you what I did. She covered something up before but her mind, she came in there with a sports bra to me, but her mindset was what I believe God needed me to see for Eve and Adam's mindset. Their first mind was to cover it up before they went to their father, who was only going to comfort them because, again, you're adults or teenagers. You didn't start from childhood. Like you're starting at an older age, which means I have to mold you and I have to sculpt you to who I need you to be, but you didn't give me a chance to do that. You just ran from me, or you just hid from me. Like you're not even giving me a chance to be your father. You're not even giving me a chance to be your redeemer. You're not giving me a chance to be who I want to be for you because you're too busy trying to hide your mistakes instead of coming to me saying, God, this is what I did. I didn't feel right when I did it. I didn't do the right thing. I knew what I was supposed to do, but I didn't do it. He's saying that you never came to him boldly like he asked us to. You too busy trying to hide what you did wrong, and he's still looking for you to come and tell him what you did. Like, come and tell him, like, I'm sorry. Come and tell him, Lord, forgive me for what I did. Forgive me for trying to cover up something. Forgive me for entertaining something that I had no business entertaining. Forgive me for stepping outside of your boundaries. Forgive me. Like we never asked for forgiveness from what we tried to cover up. Now, Lyric, that was just her mindset. So she said that she wanted to put the shirt on first, and I said, was you ever gonna come and tell me? She said, yeah, after she put the shirt on, I guess. So that's the same thing with them here. They told him after they had already covered up. So let's move on with the text. He said, then the Lord God called to the man, where are you? He replied, I heard you walking in the garden, so I hid. I was afraid because I was naked. Who told you that you were naked? The Lord God asked, have you eaten from the tree whose fruit I commanded you not to eat? The man replied, it was the woman whom you've given me. It was the woman you gave me who gave me the fruit, and I ate it. So now they're in a place of blaming God. Adam was in a place of blaming God. This was your blessing at first. You received this blessing and this was all that you wanted. Like you wanted something that was just right for you. Now that you got it, you forgot. Remember in chapter 2, you forgot the lesson because you were distracted by the blessing. So the lesson was, he already told you, you were going to be able to distinct who I was when somebody was going to give something to you that was not from me, because I gave something to you and you knew it was from me. When God was giving Adam the garden and he was telling him to name all the animals, God gave that to him. So Adam should have known the presence, that it would be the Father, the voice. Like, okay, I know this is a little iffy. Even if my wife is giving it to me, I know it's not from God, because he's already showed me some weeks or some years back, some months back, what to accept when it's him. So it's like I can accept it when it's him, but he still accepted it even when it wasn't God. So he missed the lesson. The lesson was, would you know my voice? Would you know if it was my blessing? Would you know if it was me who was asking you? Would you know if it was me who was asking you to stand? Adam forgot what he was taught, which means now he's blaming it on the blessing that was given to him out of obedience. So Adam was given blessings out of obedience, and now you're blaming the woman because you're saying, well, it was the woman who you gave me that gave me the fruit. When honestly, it was like, no, this is your test because you studied back there. Now your test is here and you failed the test because you should have remembered what I taught you. So that's the warning. The warning is, I've already prompted you. I already told you that you were going to have a test. So I took you through this series of events. I took you through the study guide. I took you through the quizzes. I took you through all that you needed to know before the actual test came. But because you forgot my word, because you weren't able to stand, even if it was your wife, even if it was the money, even if it was the things, the material things, even if it was, why did you take it when you know what I gave you previously was for me? You should know the essence of it. When it's from God, you should know the essence, the presence, like you should know the emotion attached to it. You should know when something is or is not from God. So it says, okay, what have you done? The serpent deceived me. She replied, that's why I ate it. Then the Lord God said to the serpent, because you have done this. So now not only will you be punished for what you've done if you go through with entertaining something that was never meant to be entertained, not only will you be punished, but you will also cause all parties to be punished. Like all parties are about to get in trouble because all parties are involved, because it takes for one party to stand on God's word. You have to stand on what God told you, even if that means your spouse, even if that means your children, even if that means your parents, even if that means your grandma, aunts, even if that means they fall short, even though we all fall short, don't let that go over your head, but you gotta stand, even if nobody else is standing, is what I'm trying to get you to understand. You stand even when nobody else is standing, and everything looks like it's good. Everything looks like you want it. Everything, just because something is good doesn't mean it's for you. Just because something is a blessing don't mean it's your blessing. So it says, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all the animals, domestic and wild. You will crawl on your belly, groveling in the dust as long as you live. And I will cause hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head and you will strike his heel. So now he's cursing who cursed you. When it says that God will get the last say, he gets the victory, like it's his battle, not yours. Like he's going to make the enemy the footstool or something like that, he says in the word. Like he'll do that. Like he'll take care of those who curse you. He's going to take care of those who's wronged you. He's going to take care of those who's tried to change your mind who's tried to change your heart, who's tried to make you go one way and he told you to go the right way, he's going to take care of those people that's tried to cause you harm, that's tried to mess up your marriage, that's tried to mess up your relationship with God, that's tried to mess up your money or mess up your finances or your business or whatever it may be. He's going to take care of those people, but he's also going to take care of you. So when he said this to the serpent, that's when I believe, for me, maybe that's when you turn into a snake. Because it said that you would crawl on your belly. Snakes crawl on their belly. But first you were shrewd among all the animals. So maybe you wasn't a snake just yet. Maybe then you turned to a snake. I don't know. Maybe. Could be. Then he talked to the woman. Now, this is where I get back into her committing adultery. And that's why I was able to relate with her. And that's why I believe that God gave me the message. Is because of the adultery that Eve had committed. She committed adultery with something that looked so good outside looking in, not really knowing that he was there to get her off track all along. Certain tests, certain things that you have to go through is placed there by God. He was in the garden. He was in the holiness where God placed him. But he was there to test your heart. So because he comes in different forms, those forms that he comes in will test your heart. And only you know what those forms are for you. That you know that you're so easily convinced or you're so easily trapped by. Only you know. So because he convinced her, because he got into her heart, because she found something that was better for her than what she had already had, she messed up and went with something else other than be content with what she already had. Why would God say, this is a question for you and you can answer it maybe on your study time. Why would God, if Eve didn't commit adultery, what reason would God have to sharpen the pain of pregnancy? Right? What reason? She wasn't birthing anything. It didn't say that she had relations with Adam. What reason, if she wanted the wisdom and the beauty or whatever that the serpent would give her, that means she had to do something with the serpent because she wanted that instead of what she already had. Eve was not content with what she had, but she had to learn how to be content as well. Anyway, that's a question that I had to ask God. Why would you say that I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy if I just ate something that you told me not to eat? If I did something wrong, why would your mind go to sharpen the pregnancy? Why would it go straight to there instead of let me just kick you out of the garden, let me chastise you, let me whatever? It's because Eve and the serpent had relations. Eve committed adultery, which was the first sin. She committed adultery. I guess maybe she had, I don't know this part, but maybe she went back, gave it to Adam. But that was why it said, I will call, verse 15, and I will cause hostility between you and the woman. He's talking to the serpent. I will cause you, serpent, and the woman to have hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. Who did the serpent have offspring with? Who did Eve have offspring with? Just yet. Remember, God doesn't jump ahead. Just like he didn't jump ahead with creating, he's not going to jump ahead and just say, oh, I'm going to sharpen the pains of your labor or sharpen your pregnancy. He didn't just jump ahead. It was they did something wrong. Because again, the serpent had to change her mind first. Which means he had to pull her away from not only Adam, he had to pull her away from God. Then he had to change her heart. And just from experience, once the other person or the other man that I was talking to was able to change my mind and my heart, that's when I started digging deeper into his relationship with me instead of me and my husband's relationship. Like, I started paying more attention to this over here instead of this over here. Something that was meant to be holy, I started entertaining something over here that was only meant to test me and test my heart. So now the serpent in my life, it got me. The serpent in my life got me. Which means over here, I was taking my issues to my husband. I didn't want to be with you no more. Everything you was saying was irritating me. I was causing problems. I don't got to listen to you. It was causing a lot of issues. I took my mess to him. I took everything that I was dealing with because I was unfaithful. I took it to my husband and into our oneness. I took it into our covenant. Same thing with Eve here. She took something into her covenant, something that was sacred, something that was holy. She ended up sleeping with the serpent, which that's why God said that he will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in pain you will give birth. Because you have done this, he said, in your pregnancy, in your pain, you will give birth. And you can take it outside of labor. Whatever you want, whatever in your life is about to be birthed, say a business, say whatever is going good in your life, it's going to be pain until you get there and birth that thing. That means you're going to go through people talking about you. You're going to go through people being jealous of you. You're going to go through people being negative with you. Oh, no, you're not going to have the business. Your business ain't going to be successful. They already got funnel cakes over here. What makes you think you can do funnel cakes over there? Like, you're going to go through the pain. You're going to go through the motions if we take it outside of real labor and pregnancy. It can go all ways. But in this way, he said, I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in pain you will give birth. Now, because of that, you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you. He's gonna hold that against you. He's gonna hold the resentment against you. He's gonna hold everything that you did to him against you. He's not gonna let go of it. He's not gonna forget it. He probably may not even forgive you. So that's when it says, and you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you. That's because you messed up something. You did something with somebody else. Now you want your perfect marriage, but you're going to have to go through something. Now you're going to have to go through something with your husband because you messed up. Now you can apply that however you want to apply that, but this is just my life. Okay, so like even now, like, yes, my husband has forgiven me, but it's hard. Like, he still probably holds on to what I did to him. He still has a little bit of anger. He still probably has a little bit of resentment. Like, he still probably holds on to those things and never really fully forgave. Never really fully forgot. Like, yeah, I want to control my husband sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. I want to control him sometimes, but it's like he's not gonna give in. Now his spirit is even stronger. Now it's like, no, because you did me wrong one time, I'm not about to let you control the situation this time. Neither here or there. So then he said to the man, since you listened to your wife and ate from the tree whose fruit I commanded you not to eat. Now that's still questionable, because why was you eating the fruit? Still questionable. The ground is cursed because of you. All your life you will struggle to scratch a living from it. It will grow thorns and thistles for you, though you will eat of its grains. By the sweat of your brow you will have food to eat until you return to the ground from which you were made. You were made from dust, and to dust you return. All I'm saying is, that was just a revelation that God gave to me, even though that wasn't the message. The first sin was committing adultery. If you go back to the 10 Commandments, which we'll probably get into that because he had me study that as well, and it probably doesn't mean what you think it means, but maybe it does. That's just a whole nother lesson. But that was the revelation that he gave me. That was not the first sin. Like, there was never an apple. There was never like... I believe strongly that Eve committed adultery with Satan, which means that's why she had offspring. which all explains it to in like verse 4. You keep reading in the Genesis, like it starts to make a little bit more sense. Like, where did he come from? When you got kicked out, how are you able to have all these children and have all these offspring? Look, nobody really knows what God did when he did it. Nobody really knows. So we can all say all things that we believe God has given us. I believe that he was just giving this for me because I was able to relate. Like, I committed adultery, which means he was like, okay, you can study this and you can apply it to your life. Maybe that wasn't the serpent in your life for you. There's a serpent in all of our lives that will get us to turn away from God. That's the moral of the story. If you don't take nothing else, there's a serpent in our lives that will sometimes get us to turn away from God and what he said, and we start entertaining something over here that was never meant for us, but it was only meant for a test so that we can pass the test. And even if we don't pass the test, we were meant to learn from the test. We're meant to learn. There's always going to be consequences. But don't entertain things, questions and conversations. Maybe it's man for y'all. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's business. Maybe it's family. Whatever it is for you, I don't know. Just for me, it was a man. So just don't entertain things that were only meant to be temporary entertainment. Like, it was only meant for you to learn the lesson from the person or the thing. Like, it was never meant for that to be your permanent situation. When you make it your permanent situation, things in your life happen. Oh, let me go back. It said, oh, let me go back. That's good. Let me go back. It said that you won't die. The serpent replied to the women, God knows that your eyes will be open as soon as you eat it, and you will be like God, knowing both good and evil. She said, you must not eat it or even touch it. If you do, you will die. Okay, so once you entertain something that's not meant to be entertained, it's only meant for you to learn the test from it, something in you will die. You will grow cold somewhere. There will be something in you that will die. Something, maybe for me, it was like maybe the vulnerability with my husband, maybe the sexual desire with my husband. Something in me died, which then pushed me more away from my husband to then entertain something else over here. Like, our love died. Like, I didn't want to love you no more. I didn't want to be with you no more. I wanted to be with somebody else. Like, my love for him died. Not physically, because as you see, Adam and Eve did not physically die. It was more spiritual. God is always speaking from the heart. He's rarely ever speaking from your flesh. Like, something in your spirit will die the more you keep entertaining something that's not for you. It can be a relationship. It can be a friend. It can be anything. The more you keep entertaining that temporary thing, the more permanent yourself is dying on the inside. There's something, give you one even better. The love that you have for God, the relationship that you're building with God, it will slowly begin to die. It will slowly begin to perish, because now your attention is fixed elsewhere instead of standing on what God has told you. So something in your spirit will begin to die. It won't be you physically, even though obviously eventually we all die, but it won't be you physically. It will be something in you that will begin to just diminish. It will begin to fade. It will begin to go away. It will begin to die. So it's not really physically, but this is more so just a warning. And I know it's foreign. If you don't want to take the whole committing adultery thing, maybe that's how God gave it to me, so I can understand the message in it. I still believe it, but that's neither here or there. Does it really matter if she did or she didn't? People say she ate an apple. Does it really matter? None of it matters. What matters is for you to stand on what he told you. That's what matters. Not about a tree or a fruit. Like, it matters for you to stand on what he told you. For you to remember the things that he told you last season, because he's only going to use it to quiz you and test you in this season. Like, they don't go away. Like, that season will come back. Everything will come back full circle. So if you didn't learn it last season, he'll give it to you this season. If you don't learn it this season, he'll give it to you next season. Like, he's gonna continue to full circle your seasons, full circle your tests. So if you pass or fail, he's gonna give it to you again. But just to remember, just to remember everything that he's taught you. Let it hide in your heart. Go to him. Spend more time in his presence until he tells you, like me, to back up and live life. And I'm having a hard time still with that, because it's just like, I don't want to live life, but y'all already know that story. So it's just like, until he tells you to draw away, come closer to him. So that, what does it say in scripture? So that we are not led into temptation. Pray that you are not led into temptation. And that's how I feel so strongly right now. I feel like there's some temptation maybe in our lives that maybe we are temporarily entertaining. But because of this message tonight, it has canceled the entertaining process. Like, there is no more entertaining there. We're not going to entertain those things that were. We're going to continue to keep our eyes on God, because it goes back into how we started our new season. When Jesus was walking on the water and he wanted Peter to get out of the boat and walk towards him. It's the same thing. When you start to sink, that's because your eyes is not on Jesus. And it goes back to entertaining something that's not meant for your entertainment or to be entertained. We got to keep our eyes on Jesus in this season. That was like the anchor scripture of this season. Like, we have to keep our eyes on Jesus, even if we begin to sink. We got to keep our eyes on Jesus, which means if we begin to entertain things that we shouldn't be, we got to keep our eyes on Jesus. We got to come back to him boldly. Like, God, I was entertaining this. I was spending most of my time over here when I already know what you said. We got to come back to God, and we got to keep our eyes on Jesus, because that's the only way we're going to be able to get through the season. There is no way out of the season. We have to walk through it. Which means we have to walk on water continuously in this season, in our season. So I think that was definitely the word for tonight. And it was more so of just, again, like I said in the beginning, just remember what he's taught you. Because I don't know if you're in a season of testing. I don't know if you are in a season of, to where it's hard and you're feeling weary, like how I've been feeling. I've been feeling just a little weary. I just don't want to be weary. But it's just like, you got to keep your eyes on Jesus. You got to keep going no matter what it looks like. You got to keep going. You got to keep pressing toward the mark. You got to just keep rowing that boat, even if you're struggling, even if it's hard, even if you're being tempted elsewhere, even if your mind and your heart is trying to lead you somewhere else, your heart and your mind is trying to lead you astray. Keep your mind and your eyes and your heart on Jesus. Even in this season of tempting. I feel like that's this season as well. It's a tempting season. Excuse me. And it's hard to keep your eyes on Jesus, honestly, when there's so many things distracting you. When there's work and there's family and there's friends and there's time and there's business and it's so hard to keep your mind on Jesus or your thoughts fixed on him. It is hard. I'm not going to say that it's not hard. It is. For me, it is hard. And I'm just speaking for me. It's very hard. But you got to not sink. Like, don't just let it all go and now you're at the bottom of the ocean. Like, sink a little bit to where it's like you don't see your toes anymore. You may just see your ankles, but you kind of get back up and follow Jesus. Like, it may be that. Like, you're just sinking, but you can get back up. You're just sinking a little, maybe you to your knees. But there's still time because you're not under. Like, there's still time for you to keep your eyes and your heart on Jesus without completely sinking. So, and just to know that he is enough. Maybe that's kind of what Eve was feeling as well. Like, something just wasn't enough. Like, it wasn't enough. Like, she had something in her heart that just, this not enough. This life is not enough. This relationship is not enough. This marriage is not enough. My friends are not enough. I'm not enough. That's why he gave me that song tonight, that he is enough. It doesn't matter what your life looks like. It doesn't matter if you ain't got that much hair on your head. He is enough. It doesn't matter if you have disagreements in your marriage. He is enough. It don't matter if one person is following Jesus in your marriage and another is not. He is enough. And it's hard to like accept that in your heart, but God is enough. He's all we need. You know, he's all we need. So we just got to keep going, keep our mind on him. And I think whatever this test is that's coming, if in fact you're not already in a test, that you'll pass. You know, that we'll all pass this test, because now he's giving us a remembrance. Like now it's like, okay, God, you're warning me, you're telling me to stay away from this, and he's telling us to guard our hearts. I know he was saying that very strongly. And then he was just, I know today it was more so about your salvation as well. Like, your salvation is not something that's earned. Like, it's free. Like, you don't have to beg for it. You don't have to, like, work your way into it. Salvation is free. Like, all you would need to do is believe who he is. Confess who he is. And it's not just about doing that in front of everybody. He wants something personal with you. Like, it can be in your closet to where it's like, God, I just want you. I know I've been going the wrong way maybe for some time. Maybe I've been in and out. Maybe I've still been hot over here, cold over here, warm over here. I don't know, but he spoke to me about salvation. Salvation is not something that's earned. He already have given it to you. All you got to do is accept it. Like, he loves you no matter how far you go. He loves you no matter how many sins you committed, whether it was adultery or whether it was eating too much fruit. Like, it's just overeating. Like, you know, it's just, he loves you despite of all that. He died with a knowing of what you will do before he died. We wasn't even here when he died. So he already knew what you would do. And he still said yes. And he still said, I'm going to do it anyway. And he still cried tears of blood and sweated blood to eat all it. He still did it because he already knew. But maybe today in your alone time, or I don't know, maybe it's somebody online that's watching, you know, that's just, you don't know how to receive this salvation. It's more so just giving God all of you. I messed up. I heard what you said, but I was disobedient. I wanted to do it my way instead of your way. Your will is the best will for me. It's either your will or no will. Like, I don't want to do my own thing. I want to do your thing. I want you to lead me. I want you to guide me. I want you to make decisions. That's the best thing about walking with God. Some people may think you have to have decisions on your own and you have to have your mind made up and you got to have plans and goals and all of that. I'm a living testimony. I didn't have plans and goals. But here comes the business out of nowhere when I was just trying to serve the right women. Here comes all these other things that God foreseen the goal. He foreseen the plans. That's the best thing with walking with him. You don't have to decide on your own. He makes the decisions for you if you let him. If you want him to comfort you, he will be there to comfort you, even when it feels like he's not. So it was more so about your salvation. That is free. You don't have to work your way into it. You don't have to like read the Bible every day or pray every day. Like, follow everybody's pace with him will be different. Peter's pace with him was not Judas's pace with him. And they were all in a group. So your pace will be, if he's telling me to back up this season, that don't mean he's telling you to back up this season. Like, follow the pace. He sets the pace. If you getting like tired when you're reading, maybe he's not telling you to read the word. Maybe he's telling you to spend more time with him. Maybe he's just telling you to sit with him. Just listen to him. Just talk to him. Maybe he's saying don't read the word right now. If you're getting tired or sleepy when you read the word. I know I used to do that, but I still struggle to read the word. You know, so it's let him set the pace for you, but just know that salvation is free, that when you believe in God and you believe it in your heart and nobody can change your mind about who he is, that's when he's got you, because he just wants your heart. He's after your heart. Once he can get your heart, that means it won't be so easy to change your mind, which the serpent was able to do with Eve because God didn't have her heart. God didn't have her heart. That's why it was so easy to have her mind changed. She was already convinced, and she just met this serpent a second ago. But she's been with God, walking in the garden for how long. But that's why it was so easy for her mind to be changed, because God didn't have all of her. He didn't have her heart. So it's honestly just about your heart. And I believe that was the message for tonight. You know, that God is there. Whatever it is that you're going through, He's there. You know, you don't have to hide anything from Him. And the crazy thing is, He already knows what you did. He already knows what we do. He already knows the outcome. Remember, He was already talking to Adam about it in chapter 2. He haven't got to chapter 3 yet. He already knew that Adam was going to fail the test. And then still didn't even come to Him and boldly come to Him. But yeah, I just pray against all of that. That, you know, that we will pass the test. You know, and that's why we're all here. To lean on each other, to talk to each other, to build a friendship, and to build a sisterhood. So when we do feel like we are in that time of testing and we feeling a little weary, that we should be able to lean on each other without judgment, or without, you know, feeling like, oh, well, no, you ain't never been through this before. Y'all know my whole story. So it's like, it's easier to tell somebody when they already know. God already knows. So it should be easier to tell Him what it is that you're dealing with, or what it is that you're going through, because He already knows it. You know, so yeah, that was the message for tonight. Oh, let me turn this off.